Welcome to the Buddhist audio bookshelf. Today, we invite you to explore the profound teachings of the Dhammapada in our segment titled, The Worthy Robe, Living with Virtue and Truthfulness in Modern Times. Join us on this enlightening journey into the Buddha's wisdom. If you find value in these teachings, please support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps spread this timeless wisdom to others. You can also listen to us on YouTube podcasts with ease. Simply download the YouTube Music app, and search for our channel, Buddhist Audio Bookshelf. One of the great benefits of listening through the music podcast is that it uses less battery and data, allowing you to listen while keeping the screen off. Thank you for being with us, and we look forward to sharing more teachings with you. The Worthy Robe, Living with Virtue and Truthfulness in Modern Times. The Dhammapada, one of the most revered collections of the Buddha's teachings, is a guide to living a life of inner peace, clarity, and virtue. Though these teachings were offered more than 2,000 years ago, they continue to offer practical wisdom for modern life. One verse in particular stands out for its profound relevance, offering a blueprint for living a meaningful and fulfilled life. But whoever is purged of depravity, well established in virtues and filled with self-control and truthfulness, he indeed is worthy of the yellow robe. This verse touches upon core values that have the power to bring peace and clarity to our chaotic and fast-paced lives. While the yellow robe specifically refers to the monk's robe in Buddhist tradition, it symbolizes much more than the garment itself. It represents the commitment to live with virtue, self-discipline, and authenticity. In today's world, where we are often judged by external markers of success, our careers, wealth, social status, the Buddha's teaching invites us to shift our focus inward and measure our worth by the quality of our inner life. Living with virtue, self-control, and truthfulness is not about outward appearances but about cultivating a peaceful and harmonious mind. This inner work brings a deep sense of fulfillment and can radically transform our lives. At its heart, the Buddha's teaching in this verse offers timeless guidance that is especially relevant in our current cultural context. Today, many people feel overwhelmed by stress, uncertainty, and disconnection. The pressures of modern life can leave us feeling disconnected from ourselves and others, often leading to a deep sense of dissatisfaction, anxiety, and restlessness. We seek happiness in external achievements or temporary pleasures, but these sources of fulfillment are fleeting and rarely bring lasting peace. The wisdom of the Buddha, however, offers an alternative path, one that is based on inner transformation and cultivating the qualities that lead to true happiness. The practices of purging harmful tendencies, cultivating virtue, exercising self-control, and living truthfully can provide the antidote to the many challenges we face in today's world. The process of purging depravity can seem daunting at first, but it is essential to inner peace and well-being. Depravity refers to those negative mental states and behaviors that lead to suffering, both for ourselves and for others. In today's world, we are often surrounded by influences that encourage greed, selfishness, jealousy, and anger. Whether it's through the media, advertisements, or societal expectations, we are constantly told that we need more possessions, more success, more recognition. This relentless pursuit of external validation often leads to feelings of inadequacy, dissatisfaction, and stress. The Buddha teaches that in order to live a happy and meaningful life, we must begin by purging these harmful tendencies from our minds. Purging depravity starts with becoming aware of our thoughts, actions, and motivations. Mindfulness is a powerful tool that can help us observe our inner world without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to notice when negative emotions arise, whether it's anger, jealousy, or greed. Instead of being carried away by these emotions, we can take a step back and recognize them for what they are, temporary mental states that do not define who we are. This awareness allows us to let go of these harmful emotions before they take root and cause suffering. For example, when we notice ourselves becoming angry, we can pause, take a deep breath, and reflect on the consequences of acting out of anger. By choosing not to act on negative emotions, we prevent harm to ourselves and others. The Buddha also emphasizes the importance of virtue in living a meaningful and peaceful life. Being well established in virtues means living in alignment with ethical principles that promote harmony and well-being. In today's society, where moral relativism and self-interest often dominate, the practice of virtue can seem out of step with the times. Yet, living with virtue is not about following rigid rules or denying ourselves pleasure. It is about cultivating qualities like kindness, compassion, honesty, and generosity. These virtues not only bring peace to our own minds but also create a ripple effect that positively impacts those around us. When we practice kindness, for example, we create an environment of warmth and trust, whether in our personal relationships or in our workplaces. Kindness helps us to see others with empathy and understanding, which can diffuse conflicts and build stronger, more meaningful connections. Compassion, another central virtue in the Buddha's teachings, encourages us to extend our care to others, especially those who are suffering. In today's world, where many people feel isolated and disconnected, practicing compassion can foster a sense of community and belonging. It reminds us that we are all interconnected and that our well-being is tied to the well-being of others. Living with self-control is another key aspect of the Buddha's teaching in this verse. In the modern world, self-control is often seen as a restriction or denial of pleasure, but in reality, it is the foundation of true freedom. Many of the problems we face today, such as addiction, overwork, and anxiety, are rooted in a lack of self-control. When we are constantly chasing after desires, whether for material possessions, status, or recognition, we become enslaved by our cravings. We may temporarily satisfy these desires, but the satisfaction is fleeting, and soon we are left wanting more. This cycle of desire and dissatisfaction is what the Buddha referred to as samsara, the endless cycle of suffering. Self-control allows us to break free from this cycle. By mastering our desires and impulses, we gain the ability to live intentionally rather than being driven by cravings. This doesn't mean we must renounce all pleasures, but it means we approach them with moderation and mindfulness. For example, in a world where instant gratification is the norm, self-control allows us to delay immediate rewards for the sake of long-term well-being. It helps us to prioritize what truly matters, whether that is our health, our relationships, or our inner peace. By exercising self-control, we create the space to make thoughtful choices that align with our values and bring us closer to lasting happiness. Finally, the Buddha's teaching on truthfulness is especially relevant in a world where dishonesty and deception are common. Whether it's in politics, business, or even our personal lives, many of us feel the pressure to manipulate the truth to get ahead or avoid uncomfortable situations. However, living dishonestly creates inner conflict and tension, which leads to suffering. The Buddha teaches that truthfulness is not only about speaking the truth but also about living authentically. This means aligning our words, actions, and intentions with our core values and being honest with ourselves about our motivations. When we practice truthfulness, we cultivate a sense of inner peace because we no longer need to maintain false appearances or live in fear of being exposed. Truthfulness fosters trust in our relationships, both personal and professional, and helps us build a solid foundation for meaningful connections. In a world where trust is often eroded by lies and deceit, living truthfully is a radical act of integrity that can bring us closer to others and to ourselves. The Buddha's teachings on purging depravity, cultivating virtue, exercising self-control, and practicing truthfulness are not abstract ideals reserved for monks or spiritual practitioners. They are practical guidelines that can help anyone navigate the challenges of modern life. In today's fast-paced, consumer-driven society, these teachings offer a path to inner peace and fulfillment that goes beyond material success or temporary pleasure. They encourage us to look within, to cultivate qualities that bring lasting happiness, and to live in harmony with ourselves and others. One of the key insights of the Buddha's teaching is that true happiness cannot be found in external circumstances. No matter how much wealth, status, or recognition we accumulate, if our minds are clouded by greed, anger, or delusion, we will continue to suffer. True happiness comes from purifying the mind and cultivating qualities like kindness, compassion, self-discipline, and honesty. These qualities bring a deep sense of contentment and peace, regardless of our external circumstances. In today's world, many people struggle with feelings of discontent, anxiety, and stress. The pressures of modern life, whether it's maintaining a career, managing relationships, or keeping up with societal expectations, can leave us feeling overwhelmed and disconnected from our true selves. The Buddhist teachings offer a way to cope with these challenges by helping us shift our focus from external achievements to inner transformation. By cultivating a virtuous mind, we create the conditions for a happy and meaningful life. In practical terms, this might mean adopting simple daily practices that align with the Buddha's teachings. For example, starting each day with a few moments of mindfulness can help set a positive tone for the day ahead. Practicing gratitude, whether by reflecting on the things we are thankful for or by expressing appreciation to others, can shift our mindset from scarcity to abundance. Setting an intention to be kind, compassionate, and truthful in our interactions with others can help us build stronger, more authentic relationships. And by exercising self-control, whether by limiting distractions, moderating our consumption, or taking time to rest and recharge, we can create the space for deeper reflection and inner peace. Ultimately, the Buddha's teaching on worthiness reminds us that true happiness comes from living in alignment with our highest values. It is not about achieving perfection or adhering to rigid rules, but about cultivating a sense of integrity and authenticity in our daily lives. When we live with virtue, self-control, and truthfulness, we create a life that is meaningful, fulfilling, and in harmony with the world around us. In modern society, the concept of worthiness is often misunderstood. We are conditioned to associate worth with external achievements, wealth, status, success, or fame. From the time we are children, we are taught to measure our value by what we can accumulate and how we compare to others. As we grow older, these ideas are reinforced by the pressures of social media, corporate ambition, and the desire to keep up with others. But despite the pursuit of material success, many people still feel an emptiness, a lack of fulfillment that no amount of wealth or recognition can fill. The Buddha's teachings in the Dhammapada offer a profound redefinition of worthiness, one that is timeless and relevant even in today's fast-paced world. The yellow robe worn by monks symbolizes spiritual dedication and purity, but the Buddha teaches that it is not simply wearing the robe that makes someone worthy. Instead, worthiness is defined by the qualities of the mind and heart. True worthiness is about inner character, not external appearances. This message is deeply relevant to the challenges many face today. People are bombarded with images of success and perfection, the perfect career, the perfect home, the perfect lifestyle. This constant comparison can lead to feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and self-doubt. But the Buddha's teaching invites us to turn inward and reflect on the qualities that truly make a person worthy. It's not about what we have, but who we are. It's not about how we look to others, but how we live in accordance with our values. In a world obsessed with outward appearances, the Buddha's message offers a much-needed shift in focus. Worthiness is not about what we display to the world, but the virtues we cultivate within ourselves. This shift in perspective can be transformative, offering a path to peace, contentment, and a life of deeper meaning. One of the most significant challenges in modern society is the pressure to conform to societal expectations. We are often pushed to succeed according to standards set by others, whether it's career achievements, social status, or financial wealth. But many who pursue these goals find themselves feeling disconnected from their true selves. The pursuit of external validation can lead to stress, burnout, and a sense of inner conflict. We may look successful on the outside, but inside, we feel lost or unfulfilled. The Buddha's teaching encourages us to look beyond these superficial measures of worth. Instead of seeking validation from the outside, we are invited to cultivate inner qualities like integrity, compassion, and self-awareness. By shifting our focus from external success to inner development, we can find a sense of peace and fulfillment that is not dependent on the approval of others. This teaching is not about rejecting ambition or success, but about redefining what success means. True success, according to the Buddha, comes from living in alignment with our deepest values. It is about being a person of integrity, one who acts with kindness, honesty, and compassion, even when no one is watching. In a society that often rewards self-promotion and superficial achievements, This inner focus can be a source of great strength and resilience. Another important aspect of the Buddha's teaching on worthiness is the idea that it is not enough to simply adopt the appearance of virtue. In today's world, it is easy to project an image of being virtuous, through carefully curated social media posts, public displays of generosity, or even adopting a spiritual lifestyle. But the Buddha warns that true worthiness comes from within. It is not about what we wear or how we appear, but about the purity of our intentions and the sincerity of our actions. This distinction is crucial in a culture where appearances often take precedence over authenticity. We may be tempted to present a facade of success or goodness, but if our inner life is not aligned with our outer actions, we will continue to feel disconnected and unfulfilled. The Buddha's teaching reminds us that true happiness and peace come from living authentically, from being true to ourselves and our values, even when it is difficult or unpopular. This can be particularly challenging in a society that values image and perception. We are constantly encouraged to market ourselves, to present the best possible version of ourselves to the world. But this focus on external appearance can lead to a sense of fragmentation, where we feel like we are living a double life, one that is public and curated, and another that is private and often full of self-doubt or confusion. By embracing the Buddha's teaching on worthiness, we can begin to reconcile these two aspects of ourselves. We can let go of the need to constantly impress others and focus instead on cultivating the qualities that bring true peace and fulfillment. This involves a shift from external validation to internal contentment, from worrying about how others see us to focusing on how we see ourselves. One of the key qualities that the Buddha emphasizes in relation to worthiness is self-control. In today's society, self-control is often misunderstood. It is seen as a form of deprivation or self-denial, something that limits our freedom or enjoyment of life. But the Buddha teaches that self-control is actually the key to true freedom. When we are controlled by our desires, cravings, and impulses, we are not truly free. We are constantly chasing after things that we believe will make us happy, whether it's material possessions, social status, or temporary pleasures, but this chase only leads to more suffering. Self-control, in the Buddhist sense, is about gaining mastery over our minds and emotions. It is about being able to pause and reflect before acting, rather than being swept away by our immediate reactions or desires. In a world that encourages instant gratification and constant consumption, developing self-control can be a radical act of self-liberation. It allows us to step off the treadmill of endless striving and find contentment in the present moment. This teaching is particularly relevant in today's consumer-driven culture. We are constantly bombarded with messages telling us that we need more possessions, more success, more experiences, in order to be happy. But this constant pursuit of more only leads to a sense of lack and dissatisfaction. The Buddha's teaching on self-control invites us to step back from this cycle and recognize that true happiness comes not from acquiring more, but from learning to be content with less. This does not mean renouncing all worldly possessions or ambitions, but rather cultivating a sense of balance and moderation. When we learn to control our cravings and impulses, we create space for deeper fulfillment and peace. We are no longer driven by the fear of missing out or the need to keep up with others. Instead, we can find joy in the simple things, in the present moment, and in living a life that is aligned with our values. Truthfulness is another essential aspect of worthiness in the Buddha's teaching. In a world where deception, exaggeration, and dishonesty are often used to get ahead, the practice of truthfulness can feel countercultural. But the Buddha teaches that truthfulness is essential to living a life of integrity and peace. When we lie or deceive others, we create inner turmoil and conflict. We may gain temporary advantages through dishonesty, but these gains are ultimately hollow and unsatisfying. Truthfulness is not just about telling the truth to others, it is also about being honest with ourselves. In today's world, where we are often encouraged to project an image of perfection, it can be difficult to admit our own flaws or mistakes. But the Buddha teaches that self-honesty is essential to personal growth and inner peace. By acknowledging our shortcomings and being truthful with ourselves, we open the door to self-improvement and transformation. Living truthfully also helps us build trust and authentic connections with others. In a culture that often prioritizes competition over collaboration, truthfulness can be a powerful way to foster deeper relationships. When we are honest in our interactions with others, we create a foundation of trust that can lead to more meaningful and fulfilling connections. This is especially important in a world where so many relationships are superficial or transactional. The Buddhist teaching on worthiness offers a path to a life of greater meaning, peace, and fulfillment. By focusing on cultivating inner qualities like self-control, truthfulness, and authenticity, we can break free from the pressures of external validation and live in alignment with our true values. In doing so, we find a sense of worthiness that is not dependent on others' opinions or societal standards but is rooted in our own integrity and inner peace. In today's culture, where anxiety, stress, and feelings of inadequacy are so prevalent, this teaching offers a powerful antidote. It reminds us that true happiness and fulfillment come not from what we have or how we appear to others, but from who we are and how we live. By cultivating the qualities that make us truly worthy, we can lead lives of greater peace, contentment, and purpose. In today's fast-paced and complex world, the challenges we face often seem overwhelming. We are constantly bombarded with information, pressures, and distractions that pull us in many directions, leaving little time to reflect on our inner lives. With the rise of consumerism, social media, and the relentless pursuit of success, modern society encourages us to focus on external achievements and appearances. Amid this chaos, many people find themselves struggling with feelings of dissatisfaction, anxiety, and a sense of emptiness. The Buddhist teaching on purging depravity offers a profound and practical antidote to these modern afflictions. The term depravity in the Buddhist teaching refers to the moral and mental defilements that cloud our judgment and prevent us from living in harmony with ourselves and others. These defilements, such as greed, anger, jealousy, and delusion, are the root causes of suffering. In our daily lives, we often act out of these negative emotions, sometimes without even realizing it. The pressures of modern society can amplify these tendencies, making it harder to recognize and address them. However, the process of purging these mental defilements is key to achieving a life of happiness, peace, and meaning. One of the most prevalent forms of depravity in today's culture is greed. We live in a world that constantly encourages us to want more money, more possessions, more recognition. Advertising, social media, and the capitalist economy all fuel this insatiable desire for material success. While ambition and striving for success are not inherently bad, the problem arises when our desires become excessive and begin to control us. The more we chase after material things, the more we distance ourselves from the true sources of contentment. The Buddha teaches that greed is a form of clinging, a mental habit of constantly seeking fulfillment from external sources. This clinging creates a sense of dissatisfaction because no matter how much we acquire, it never seems to be enough. In fact, the more we get, the more we fear losing what we have, and the more we want to secure even more. This endless cycle of wanting and fearing keeps us trapped in a state of discontentment. To begin purging greed from our lives, we must first become aware of its presence. Mindfulness, one of the core practices in Buddhist teachings, is a powerful tool for recognizing when greed arises in our thoughts and actions. When we are mindful, we become more aware of the subtle ways in which we are driven by desire, whether it's the desire for material possessions, recognition, or even validation from others. Through this awareness, we can begin to break free from the habit of always wanting more and instead focus on what we truly need to be happy. Practicing gratitude is another effective way to counteract greed. In a culture that constantly tells us we need more, practicing gratitude helps shift our focus from what we lack to what we already have. By cultivating a sense of appreciation for the blessings in our lives, whether it's our health, relationships, or the simple joys of everyday life, we can reduce the urge to constantly seek external validation. Gratitude creates a sense of contentment and fulfillment, allowing us to find happiness in the present moment rather than in the pursuit of more. Another form of depravity that is pervasive in today's society is anger. Whether it's in personal relationships, online interactions, or political discourse, anger seems to be everywhere. The fast pace of life, the stresses of work, and the pressures of modern living often leave people feeling frustrated and on edge. In many cases, Anger arises from unmet expectations or a perceived threat to our sense of self. When we feel that something or someone is standing in the way of our desires, we react with hostility or aggression. The Buddha teaches that anger is like a fire that burns within us. While it may seem justified in the moment, anger ultimately harms us more than anyone else. When we hold on to anger, it poisons our minds and prevents us from seeing things clearly. It leads to harmful speech and actions that can damage our relationships and create more suffering for ourselves and others. In today's culture, where social media platforms amplify disagreements and divisions, anger has become an all too common response to conflict. Online, people often express their frustrations with harsh words and aggressive behavior, leading to a cycle of negativity. This is especially true in political and social discussions, where the anonymity of the internet allows people to express anger without fear of consequences. But this kind of anger-driven communication only deepens the divide between people and creates more suffering. To purge anger from our lives, we must first acknowledge its presence and the harm it causes. Just as with greed, mindfulness is a key practice in managing anger. By observing our emotional reactions without judgment, we can catch ourselves before we act on our anger. This moment of awareness creates a space in which we can choose a more skillful response, rather than reacting impulsively. Compassion is another powerful tool for transforming anger. When we feel anger towards someone, it's often because we see them as an obstacle to our own happiness. However, by practicing compassion, we can begin to see the other person's humanity and recognize that they too are suffering. Compassion allows us to approach conflicts with a sense of understanding and empathy, rather than hostility. It doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior, but it helps us respond with kindness rather than perpetuating the cycle of anger. Another defilement that plagues modern society is jealousy. In a world where social media constantly presents us with curated images of other people's success, beauty, and happiness, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others. Jealousy arises when we feel that we are lacking something that someone else possesses. It might be a sense of inadequacy about our appearance, our achievements, or our relationships. The problem with jealousy is that it blinds us to our own worth and potential. When we are consumed by envy, we focus on what we don't have rather than on what we do. This mindset creates feelings of resentment and bitterness, which not only harm our mental well-being but also damage our relationships with others. The antidote to jealousy is contentment. Instead of comparing ourselves to others, we can practice appreciating our own unique qualities and accomplishments. Contentment arises when we accept ourselves as we are and recognize that true happiness does not come from having what others have, but from embracing our own journey. Cultivating a mindset of abundance, rather than scarcity, can also help us overcome jealousy. When we operate from a place of scarcity, we believe that there is not enough success, love, or happiness to go around. This belief fuels competition and envy. However, when we shift our perspective to one of abundance, we begin to see that there is enough for everyone. Other people's success does not diminish our own, and we can genuinely celebrate their achievements without feeling threatened. The final defilement we will address is delusion, which is perhaps the most insidious of all. Delusion refers to our inability to see things as they truly are. In today's world, delusion takes many forms. Whether it's our attachment to material things, our belief in the permanence of external circumstances, or our distorted perceptions of ourselves and others. One of the most common delusions in modern society is the belief that happiness can be found through external means. We are conditioned to believe that if we just achieve a certain level of success, or acquire certain possessions, or have the right relationship, we will finally be happy. But the truth is that these external things are impermanent and cannot provide lasting fulfillment. When we base our happiness on external factors, we set ourselves up for disappointment and suffering when those things inevitably change or fade away. To overcome delusion, we must cultivate wisdom, the ability to see the world as it truly is. This involves recognizing the impermanence of all things and understanding that true happiness comes from within, not from external sources. Meditation and mindfulness practices help us develop this wisdom by allowing us to observe the nature of our thoughts and experiences without getting caught up in them. Over time, we begin to see that our thoughts and emotions are temporary and do not define us. In conclusion, purging depravity is not about repressing or denying our emotions and desires. Rather, it is about recognizing the harmful patterns of thought and behavior that keep us stuck in cycles of suffering and learning to let go of them. By practicing mindfulness, compassion, gratitude, and wisdom, we can free ourselves from the defilements of greed, anger, jealousy, and delusion. In doing so, we create space for inner peace, contentment, and a deeper sense of purpose in our lives. The Buddha's teachings are as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. In a world that often prioritizes material success and superficial appearances, these teachings offer a path to true fulfillment and happiness. By purging depravity and cultivating virtues, we can live more meaningful lives and contribute to a more compassionate and harmonious society. In today's world, virtue can seem like an old-fashioned concept, a relic of a time when morality was preached from pulpits and ethical codes were more black and white. Yet, despite the complexity of modern society, virtues like kindness, honesty, patience, and compassion are still essential for living a meaningful and fulfilling life. In a culture that often prioritizes material success, fame, and instant gratification, virtues offer a timeless compass that can guide us through life's challenges and help us find true peace and happiness. Virtues are not just about adhering to rules or behaving in ways that others expect. They are qualities that, when cultivated, lead to inner strength and resilience. They enable us to act in alignment with our higher values, even when circumstances push us in the opposite direction. In the context of the Buddha's teachings, being well established in virtues means having a firm foundation in qualities that promote peace, harmony, and well-being for both ourselves and others. It's about creating a life that reflects the best version of ourselves. One of the most significant challenges people face today is the overwhelming pace of life. We are constantly bombarded with information, distractions, and pressures to succeed, making it difficult to maintain a sense of balance. Many find themselves caught up in a cycle of stress, anxiety, and burnout, feeling disconnected from themselves and from others. In this context, cultivating virtues becomes even more critical. Virtue serves as an antidote to the chaos, offering clarity and a sense of purpose that can help us navigate the complexities of modern living. Take, for example, the virtue of patience. In a world driven by speed and immediacy, patience can feel like a rare commodity. Whether it's waiting for a reply to a text message, dealing with a difficult colleague, or enduring long-term challenges like financial instability or relationship issues, the ability to remain patient is often tested. Yet, patience is not simply about waiting, it's about maintaining inner calm and composure in the face of delays or difficulties. Patience allows us to step back from the impulse to react hastily or make decisions out of frustration. When we practice patience, we give ourselves the space to reflect, gain perspective, and make wiser choices. In doing so, we avoid unnecessary conflict and create more harmonious interactions with others. For instance, when dealing with a frustrating situation at work, instead of lashing out or becoming overwhelmed, we can practice patience by taking a few deep breaths, considering the bigger picture, and responding calmly. This not only helps us maintain our peace of mind but also fosters a more positive environment for those around us. Another essential virtue in today's world is compassion. In a society that often emphasizes competition, individualism, and self-promotion, compassion can sometimes be overlooked. However, the ability to empathize with others and act with kindness is crucial for creating meaningful connections and fostering a sense of community. Compassion is not just about feeling sorry for someone, it's about recognizing the common humanity we all share and responding to others with genuine care and concern. Compassion can be practiced in small, everyday moments, such as offering a kind word to someone who is struggling or showing understanding when someone makes a mistake. In the workplace, for example, instead of criticizing a coworker for a job poorly done, we can practice compassion by acknowledging that they may be going through a tough time and offering support rather than judgment. This not only strengthens our relationships but also creates a more positive and supportive environment. In today's fast-paced world, where many people experience isolation and loneliness despite being constantly connected through technology, cultivating compassion is more important than ever. Acts of kindness and empathy can break through the barriers of isolation and remind us of our shared humanity. Whether it's helping a neighbor in need or simply listening to a friend who is going through a difficult time, compassion helps to bridge the gaps between us and creates a sense of belonging. Honesty is another virtue that plays a significant role in building trust and integrity in our lives. In a culture that often encourages cutting corners or presenting a false image to get ahead, being truthful can sometimes seem like a disadvantage. Social media, for instance, allows us to curate an idealized version of ourselves, which can lead to a disconnect between our public personas and our true selves. This disconnect can create feelings of insecurity and self-doubt, as we constantly compare our real lives to the polished images we see online. However, living honestly, both with ourselves and with others, creates a sense of inner peace and authenticity. When we are truthful, we align our actions with our values, which leads to a greater sense of self-respect and confidence. Honesty also fosters trust in our relationships, as people are more likely to rely on us and feel secure in our presence when they know we speak and act with integrity. At times, honesty can be difficult, especially when it involves confronting uncomfortable truths or admitting our mistakes. Yet, avoiding the truth often leads to more significant problems down the line, whether in the form of damaged relationships or unresolved conflicts. By practicing honesty, we not only avoid these issues but also build a reputation for reliability and trustworthiness, which is invaluable in both personal and professional settings. Courage, another vital virtue, is especially relevant in today's uncertain world. Whether it's standing up for what we believe in, facing our fears, or taking on new challenges, courage enables us to grow and evolve. In the face of adversity, many people find themselves paralyzed by fear of failure, fear of rejection, or fear of the unknown. This fear can prevent us from taking the necessary steps to achieve our goals or live in alignment with our values. Courage does not mean the absence of fear, but rather the willingness to act despite fear. It involves stepping outside of our comfort zones and facing difficulties head-on, whether that means pursuing a career change, standing up for a marginalized group, or confronting a personal issue. When we act with courage, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and experiences, which can lead to personal growth and a deeper sense of fulfillment. In addition to patience, compassion, honesty, and courage, virtues like generosity, humility, and gratitude also play crucial roles in creating a happy and meaningful life. Generosity, for example, is not limited to material giving but includes giving of our time, attention, and care. In a world that often emphasizes scarcity and competition, practicing generosity can shift our mindset from one of lack to one of abundance, helping us to focus on what we have rather than what we don't. Humility, on the other hand, reminds us that we are not the center of the universe. In a culture that often promotes self-importance and ego-driven success, humility allows us to stay grounded and recognize the contributions of others. It helps us remain open to learning and growth, as we acknowledge that we do not have all the answers. Humility fosters deeper connections with others, as it allows us to listen and learn without feeling the need to assert superiority. Gratitude, another often overlooked virtue, has been shown to have profound effects on mental and emotional well-being. In today's culture, where the constant pursuit of more success, more possessions, more recognition, can lead to dissatisfaction, practicing gratitude helps us appreciate what we already have. Taking time to reflect on the positive aspects of our lives, no matter how small, shifts our focus from what is lacking to what is present, creating a greater sense of contentment and joy. The Buddhist teachings remind us that virtues are not just abstract qualities but practical tools that can transform our lives. By cultivating virtues, we create a solid foundation for navigating the challenges of modern life with wisdom and compassion. While the world around us may be chaotic, virtues provide a sense of stability and purpose, helping us to remain grounded in what truly matters. Moreover, living a virtuous life does not mean we must be perfect. The cultivation of virtue is an ongoing process that requires patience and persistence. There will be times when we fall short, but each moment presents an opportunity to recommit to our values and strive for improvement. As we practice virtues, they become second nature, and over time, we find that we are better equipped to handle life's difficulties with grace and equanimity. In the end, virtues are not just about personal growth, they have a ripple effect on the world around us. When we act with kindness, patience, and integrity, we inspire others to do the same. By living virtuously, we contribute to creating a more compassionate and harmonious society, one in which people are treated with respect and dignity. In a world that often feels disconnected and divided, the practice of virtue offers a path toward unity and peace. It reminds us that true happiness and meaning are not found in external achievements or possessions but in the way we live our lives. By grounding ourselves in virtues, we cultivate the inner qualities that lead to lasting fulfillment and a deeper connection with ourselves, others, and the world at large. Self-control, often seen as a burden or a limitation, is in fact the key to freedom and lasting happiness. In today's fast-paced and indulgent society, the idea of restraint can feel old-fashioned. We are surrounded by messages encouraging us to indulge in every desire, from instant gratification through fast food and streaming services to impulsive online shopping and quick social media fixes. The constant barrage of these stimuli pushes us toward a life of seeking pleasure at every turn, often without considering the consequences. But despite all these opportunities for pleasure, many people find themselves feeling more stressed, anxious, and unfulfilled. Instead of experiencing happiness, many feel trapped in cycles of overindulgence and dissatisfaction. This is where the Buddha's teachings on self-control become particularly relevant. Far from being restrictive, self-control offers a way to break free from the habits and patterns that lead to suffering and allows us to experience life in a more meaningful, fulfilling way. The illusion of freedom in indulgence. One of the most common misconceptions in today's society is that indulging in our desires leads to happiness. We are conditioned to believe that satisfying every craving, whether for food, possessions, or entertainment, will make us feel better. However, the truth is that indulgence often leads to more cravings, not less, and the temporary pleasure we get from satisfying these cravings is usually followed by a sense of emptiness or regret. Consider how we often turn to food or shopping to cope with stress or boredom. In the moment, it feels like eating a favorite snack or buying something new will bring relief or excitement. But how do we feel afterward? The pleasure from these activities is fleeting, and soon we may find ourselves reaching for the next distraction, the next source of gratification, trying to fill a void that can never truly be filled by external things. This cycle of craving and indulgence traps us in a constant pursuit of temporary pleasures, leaving us feeling dissatisfied and disconnected. The more we indulge, the more we reinforce the belief that happiness comes from outside ourselves, when in reality, lasting happiness comes from within. Self-control is a path to true freedom. In contrast to the fleeting pleasure of indulgence, self-control offers the kind of freedom that leads to lasting happiness. When we practice self-control, we are not denying ourselves joy or pleasure, we are simply making mindful choices about how we respond to our desires. Self-control allows us to step back from the impulsive reactions that often lead to suffering and make decisions that align with our long-term well-being. In the Buddha's teachings, self-control is not about suppressing or ignoring our desires but about understanding them. It is about recognizing that not all desires are beneficial, and that chasing after every impulse can lead to harm, not only to ourselves but also to others. When we develop self-control, we cultivate the ability to pause, reflect, and choose our actions wisely, rather than being driven by our cravings and impulses. This is especially important in today's culture, where we are constantly bombarded with stimuli designed to trigger our desires. Advertisers and social media platforms thrive on keeping us engaged by appealing to our cravings for attention, validation, and material possessions. In such an environment, self-control becomes a powerful tool for protecting our peace of mind and well-being. How self-control can help us cope with modern challenges. In our fast-paced world, stress and anxiety are common. Many people struggle to find balance between work, relationships, and personal well-being. Self-control can help us navigate these challenges by giving us the tools to manage our emotions and reactions in a healthy way. Here are some examples of how self-control can make a difference in everyday life. 1. Managing stress. Stress is an inevitable part of life, but how we respond to it can make all the difference. When we lack self-control, we may turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms, such as overeating, drinking alcohol, or zoning out in front of the TV for hours. While these activities might offer temporary relief, they often leave us feeling worse in the long run. Practicing self-control allows us to choose more constructive ways to cope with stress. Instead of reaching for a quick fix, we can pause and take a few deep breaths, go for a walk, or engage in a mindfulness practice. These activities help us calm our minds and bodies, allowing us to respond to stress with clarity and resilience rather than impulsiveness. Self-control also helps us maintain perspective during stressful situations. When we feel overwhelmed, it's easy to let our emotions spiral out of control, leading to anxiety, frustration, or anger. By cultivating self-control, we can create space between our emotions and our reactions, enabling us to respond thoughtfully rather than react out of habit. 2. Navigating relationships. Relationships, whether with family, friends, or romantic partners, are a significant source of both joy and conflict. In moments of tension, our natural impulse may be to lash out, defend ourselves, or withdraw emotionally. These reactions often escalate conflicts and damage relationships. Self-control helps us navigate these moments with greater awareness and care. It allows us to pause before speaking, consider the impact of our words and actions, and choose a response that promotes understanding and connection rather than further conflict. Practicing self-control in relationships fosters patience, empathy, and compassion, which are essential for building healthy, lasting connections. For example, if a friend says something hurtful, our initial impulse might be to react with anger or defensiveness. But by practicing self-control, we can take a step back, reflect on what was said, and respond in a way that encourages dialogue rather than deepening the divide. This ability to pause and choose a constructive response can transform the dynamics of our relationships and bring more harmony into our lives. 3. Building healthy habits. In today's culture, there is a growing awareness of the importance of healthy habits, from eating nutritious food to exercising regularly and getting enough sleep. However, maintaining these habits requires a level of self-control that many people struggle with. Without self-control, it's easy to fall into the trap of procrastination, making excuses, or giving into temptations that undermine our well-being. For example, we might know that we should go to the gym after work, but the lure of the couch and TV can be hard to resist. Or we might have the intention of eating healthy, but when faced with a tempting dessert, our resolve crumbles. Self-control helps us stay committed to our goals and make choices that support our long-term health. It allows us to resist short-term temptations in favor of long-term benefits. This doesn't mean we never indulge or enjoy treats, but it does mean we do so mindfully, without letting those indulgences derail our overall well-being. Building self-control in one area of life, such as sticking to a regular exercise routine, can also have a positive ripple effect on other areas. As we develop greater discipline in taking care of our physical health, we may find it easier to apply that same discipline to our emotional and mental well-being, creating a more balanced and fulfilling life. Practical steps to cultivate self-control. Cultivating self-control is not something that happens overnight, but with practice and patience, it is a skill that anyone can develop. Here are some practical steps to help you build self-control in your daily life. 1. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the foundation of self-control. By practicing mindfulness, we become more aware of our thoughts, feelings, and impulses in the present moment. This awareness creates the space we need to pause and choose our responses rather than react impulsively. Start by incorporating small moments of mindfulness into your day. This could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths before making a decision or checking in with yourself when you feel stressed or overwhelmed. Over time, these small practices can help you develop greater control over your reactions. 2. Set clear intentions. Self-control is easier to maintain when we have a clear sense of purpose and direction. Take some time to reflect on what matters most to you and set clear intentions for how you want to live your life. This could include goals for your health, relationships, career, or personal growth. When you have a clear sense of your priorities, it becomes easier to make decisions that align with your values. For example, if your goal is to improve your health, you might find it easier to resist unhealthy foods or make time for exercise because you are motivated by a larger purpose. 3. Break down big goals. One of the reasons self-control can feel difficult is that we often set big, overwhelming goals for ourselves. When the goal feels too daunting, it's easy to give up or lose motivation. To build self-control, break down your big goals into smaller, manageable steps. For example, if your goal is to meditate for 30 minutes a day, start with just 5 minutes. As you build the habit and develop greater self-discipline, you can gradually increase the time. This approach makes the process feel more achievable and helps you build confidence in your ability to follow through. 4. Develop healthy boundaries. Self-control is not just about resisting temptation, it's also about creating environments that support your well-being. This means setting healthy boundaries with yourself and others to protect your time, energy, and mental health. For example, if you know that certain situations or people trigger unhealthy behaviors, set boundaries to avoid those triggers. This might mean limiting your exposure to negative influences or creating routines that support your self-control. By setting clear boundaries, you create an environment that makes it easier to stay aligned with your values and goals. Embracing self-control is a path to freedom. Self-control is not about deprivation or restriction, it is about making mindful choices that support your happiness and well-being. In a world filled with distractions and temptations, self-control gives you the freedom to live a life that is aligned with your values and aspirations. By cultivating self-control, you free yourself from the habits and patterns that lead to suffering. In a world increasingly defined by speed, distraction, and superficial connections, the value of truthfulness stands out as a guiding light. In our personal lives, workplaces, and society at large, being truthful is not just an ethical choice, it is a powerful antidote to the confusion and chaos that often surrounds us. This commitment to honesty serves as the foundation for meaningful relationships, personal integrity, and overall well-being. Living in a culture filled with curated images, filtered realities, and a seemingly constant barrage of information can make it challenging to discern what is true and what is not. Social media platforms and the rapid flow of news can create an environment where exaggeration, misrepresentation, and outright lies flourish. It's easy to get swept away in the currents of misinformation or succumb to the pressure to conform to societal expectations. However, amidst this complexity, truthfulness offers a path to clarity and authenticity. To begin with, truthfulness is not merely about refraining from outright lies, it encompasses being honest with ourselves and others. It invites us to confront our own feelings, desires, and motivations without judgment. In a society where many feel compelled to project a polished version of themselves, this honesty can feel like a radical act. But the freedom and peace that come from living authentically far outweigh the temporary discomfort of vulnerability. Practicing truthfulness begins with self-reflection. Take a moment to examine your own beliefs, values, and aspirations. Ask yourself, are there areas in your life where you're not being entirely honest? Are you compromising your values to fit in or to please others? By recognizing these discrepancies, you can begin the process of aligning your actions with your true self. This alignment fosters a sense of inner peace and reduces the mental clutter that often arises from living inauthentically. One common area where truthfulness can be particularly challenging is in our relationships. Whether with friends, family, or colleagues, open and honest communication is essential for fostering connection and trust. However, many people fear that being truthful will lead to conflict or rejection. This fear often leads to avoiding difficult conversations or sugarcoating the truth. While it may feel easier in the moment to sidestep these discussions, the long-term consequences can be damaging. For instance, consider a workplace scenario where you have concerns about a colleague's performance. If you avoid addressing the issue out of fear of creating tension, the situation may worsen, leading to resentment or frustration. Alternatively, approaching the conversation with honesty and compassion can pave the way for constructive dialogue and problem solving. When you express your concerns truthfully, you not only demonstrate respect for your colleague but also foster an environment where open communication is valued. Similarly, in personal relationships, practicing truthfulness is key to building intimacy and understanding. If you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or unfulfilled, sharing these feelings with your partner can create a deeper connection and encourage mutual support. While it may feel daunting to express vulnerability, doing so opens the door for greater empathy and compassion in the relationship. Another crucial aspect of truthfulness is the relationship we have with ourselves. Many people struggle with self-deception, whether it's denying their true feelings, avoiding difficult emotions, or rationalizing unhealthy behaviors. This internal dishonesty can lead to a range of issues, including anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. Embracing truthfulness means acknowledging our feelings and experiences without judgment. It requires us to confront uncomfortable truths, whether that's recognizing a toxic relationship, accepting personal limitations, or admitting that we need help. One practical way to cultivate this inner truthfulness is through mindfulness practices. Mindfulness encourages us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, creating space for self-awareness and acceptance. By practicing mindfulness, we can learn to identify patterns of self-deception and begin to unravel them. This process allows us to respond to ourselves with compassion and honesty, ultimately leading to greater emotional resilience and well-being. Moreover, truthfulness can serve as a powerful tool for coping with the challenges of modern life. In times of stress, uncertainty, or crisis, the pressure to present a facade can feel overwhelming. However, embracing truthfulness can help us navigate these difficulties with greater clarity and strength. When we acknowledge our fears, worries, and struggles, we empower ourselves to seek support and resources that can aid our healing and growth. In a society that often glorifies busyness and achievement, truthfulness invites us to slow down and reflect on what truly matters. It encourages us to ask essential questions. What do I value most in life? What brings me joy and fulfillment? By embracing our inner truth, we can align our choices and actions with our core values, leading to a more meaningful and purposeful existence. As we cultivate truthfulness in our lives, we must also consider its broader impact on society. The practice of honesty has the potential to create ripples of positive change, fostering environments of trust, collaboration, and compassion. When individuals commit to truthfulness, they inspire others to do the same. This collective shift can lead to more open dialogue, enhanced relationships, and a sense of community rooted in shared values. In contrast, when dishonesty prevails, it breeds mistrust and division. Whether in personal relationships, workplaces, or political landscapes, dishonesty erodes the very fabric of society. By committing to truthfulness, we become agents of change, challenging the status quo and promoting a culture of integrity and accountability. Moreover, truthfulness can be a source of empowerment. In a world where misinformation can easily spread, standing firm in one's convictions and speaking the truth is an act of courage. It allows us to advocate for justice, equality, and compassion, driving positive change in our communities. When we speak the truth, we amplify marginalized voices and contribute to a more equitable society. The journey toward truthfulness is not without its challenges. It requires vulnerability, courage, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable realities. However, the rewards of this commitment are profound. By living truthfully, we create the conditions for genuine happiness, fulfillment, and connection. As you navigate the complexities of modern life, consider how you can incorporate truthfulness into your daily interactions. Begin by reflecting on your values and intentions. Make a conscious effort to communicate honestly with yourself and others, even when it feels uncomfortable. Practice self-compassion as you confront difficult truths, recognizing that growth often arises from discomfort. Engage in open conversations with those around you. Share your thoughts and feelings honestly, and encourage others to do the same. This commitment to transparency fosters deeper connections and creates a culture of trust in your relationships. Moreover, explore mindfulness practices to enhance your self-awareness and cultivate an honest relationship with yourself. Whether through meditation, journaling, or simply pausing to reflect throughout the day, these practices can help you stay grounded in your truth. As you embark on this journey, remember that truthfulness is a lifelong practice. It requires patience, commitment, and ongoing self-reflection. Embrace the challenges and celebrate the victories along the way. By cultivating truthfulness in your life, you contribute to your own happiness and the well-being of those around you. In a world filled with uncertainty and noise, truthfulness offers a path to clarity, connection, and inner peace. As you embrace this virtue, you'll discover the profound impact it has on your relationships, your sense of self, and your overall quality of life. Through truthfulness, we can navigate the complexities of modern existence with grace, integrity, and a renewed sense of purpose. In a rapidly changing world filled with complexity and uncertainty, the teachings of the Buddha offer profound insights into how we can navigate life's challenges while cultivating happiness and meaning. The core values of virtue, self-control, and truthfulness are as relevant today as they were over 2 millennia ago, providing a guiding light for individuals seeking to lead fulfilling lives amid the pressures of modern society. One of the most pressing issues in today's culture is the pervasive sense of disconnection and isolation many people feel. With the rise of digital communication, individuals often find themselves surrounded by technology yet simultaneously feeling more alone than ever. Social media platforms can exacerbate this isolation, presenting curated highlights of others' lives that lead to comparisons and feelings of inadequacy. In this environment, the practice of cultivating virtue becomes essential. Virtue encourages us to engage in meaningful relationships and foster a sense of community. Rather than succumbing to envy or the desire to project a perfect image, we can choose to express genuine kindness and compassion towards ourselves and others. By being virtuous, we can create connections based on authenticity rather than superficiality. This approach not only enhances our relationships but also cultivates a supportive environment where individuals feel valued and understood. To illustrate the importance of virtue in today's society, consider the impact of small acts of kindness. A simple gesture, like offering a compliment or helping someone in need, can create ripples of positivity that extend beyond the immediate moment. In workplaces, for example, fostering a culture of appreciation and support can lead to increased morale and collaboration among colleagues. By embodying virtue, we contribute to a collective well-being that alleviates feelings of isolation and despair. Self-control also plays a vital role in addressing the challenges of modern life. The rapid pace of contemporary society often pushes individuals towards impulsive behaviors, whether in consumerism, social interactions, or emotional reactions. In a world that encourages instant gratification, cultivating self-control allows us to pause and reflect before reacting. This practice is essential for maintaining our mental health and well-being. For instance, when faced with stress or overwhelming emotions, many individuals may turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms, such as excessive shopping, binge eating, or social media scrolling, as a means of escape. However, these behaviors often lead to feelings of guilt, shame, and further isolation. Instead, practicing self-control helps us develop healthier responses to stress. Techniques such as mindfulness and deep breathing can create a buffer between our emotions and our actions, allowing us to choose responses that are more aligned with our values. Mindfulness is particularly effective in cultivating self-control. By being present in the moment, we can observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment. This awareness gives us the power to make conscious choices rather than reacting blindly. For instance, if we notice anger or frustration rising within us, mindfulness enables us to step back and assess the situation before responding. This practice not only helps us maintain our composure but also fosters healthier interactions with others. In our increasingly interconnected world, the ability to communicate truthfully and authentically has never been more critical. The digital age often encourages a culture of exaggeration and deceit, where individuals feel pressured to present themselves in a certain light to gain approval or acceptance. This phenomenon can erode trust and create a sense of disillusionment in relationships. Practicing truthfulness fosters transparency and sincerity in our interactions. By being honest about our thoughts, feelings, and experiences, we create an atmosphere of trust that encourages others to do the same. This authenticity strengthens our connections and promotes open dialogue, allowing us to address conflicts and misunderstandings more effectively. Consider the power of truthfulness in personal relationships. When conflicts arise, the temptation may be to avoid confrontation or hide behind polite facades. However, this approach often leads to unresolved issues and lingering resentment. By embracing truthfulness, we can express our feelings constructively and work towards resolutions that honor both parties' perspectives. This practice not only enhances our relationships but also cultivates emotional resilience, allowing us to navigate challenges with greater ease. Moreover, truthfulness extends beyond personal relationships to our professional lives. In an era where corporate culture often emphasizes results over ethics, adhering to truthfulness can set us apart as leaders of integrity. By being transparent with colleagues, clients, and stakeholders, we build trust and credibility that can lead to long-term success. In a world where skepticism is prevalent, those who embody truthfulness become beacons of reliability and moral clarity. As we consider the relevance of these teachings in our everyday lives, it is essential to acknowledge the interconnectedness of virtue, self-control, and truthfulness. Each quality reinforces the others, creating a foundation for personal growth and meaningful relationships. When we cultivate virtue, we enhance our ability to exercise self-control, leading to more truthful interactions. Conversely, embracing truthfulness deepens our understanding of ourselves and strengthens our commitment to virtuous living. In our pursuit of happiness and meaning, we must also recognize the significance of community. In an age of individualism, it is easy to become preoccupied with personal success and achievement. However, true fulfillment often arises from our connections with others and the positive impact we can have on our communities. By embodying the qualities of virtue, self-control, and truthfulness, we can become active contributors to the well-being of those around us. Volunteer work, community service, and acts of kindness are all ways to engage with our communities and foster a sense of belonging. When we invest in the well-being of others, we experience a profound sense of purpose and satisfaction. This sense of connection counteracts feelings of isolation and despair, reinforcing the notion that we are part of something larger than ourselves. Additionally, cultivating a supportive community allows us to share our struggles and triumphs with others. In times of difficulty, having a network of individuals who understand and empathize with our experiences can be a powerful source of comfort and resilience. When we surround ourselves with those who embody virtue, self-control, and truthfulness, we create an environment that encourages personal growth and mutual support. In navigating the complexities of modern life, it is essential to recognize the importance of self-compassion. While the teachings of the Buddha encourage us to strive for virtue and truthfulness, it is equally vital to extend kindness to ourselves. In a culture that often demands perfection, we must remember that growth is a gradual process, and setbacks are a natural part of the journey. Self-compassion allows us to acknowledge our struggles without judgment. Rather than berating ourselves for moments of weakness or failure, we can approach these experiences with understanding and kindness. This practice fosters resilience, enabling us to bounce back from challenges and continue our pursuit of a happy and meaningful life. Incorporating self-compassion into our daily lives involves reframing our internal dialogue. Instead of engaging in self-criticism, we can ask ourselves how we would respond to a friend in a similar situation. By treating ourselves with the same kindness and empathy we offer to others, we cultivate a nurturing relationship with ourselves. Furthermore, developing a daily practice of gratitude can significantly enhance our overall well-being. In the midst of life's challenges, it can be easy to focus on what is lacking or what is going wrong. However, by intentionally reflecting on the positive aspects of our lives, we shift our perspective and cultivate a more optimistic outlook. Gratitude helps us recognize the abundance that already exists in our lives, fostering a sense of contentment. This practice encourages us to appreciate the small moments of joy, a warm cup of tea, a kind word from a friend, or a beautiful sunset. By cultivating gratitude, we train our minds to focus on the positive, reducing stress and increasing overall happiness. In summary, the teachings of the Buddha on virtue, self-control, and truthfulness offer invaluable guidance for navigating the complexities of modern life. By cultivating these qualities, we not only enhance our own well-being but also contribute positively to our relationships and communities. In a world that often feels fragmented and disjointed, embracing these teachings can lead to deeper connections and a greater sense of purpose. As we strive to embody these principles, we empower ourselves to create lives filled with meaning and joy. In doing so, we honor the timeless wisdom of the Buddha and pave the way for a brighter, more compassionate world. By becoming beacons of virtue, self-control, and truthfulness, we inspire others to embark on their own journeys toward happiness and fulfillment, creating a ripple effect of positivity that extends far beyond ourselves. Becoming worthy of the robe. The teachings of the Buddha, especially the verse about being purged of depravity, well established in virtues and filled with self-control and truthfulness, resonate deeply in today's culture, where the quest for meaning and happiness often seems elusive. In a world characterized by rapid change, social media pressures, and a relentless pace of life, individuals often find themselves grappling with anxiety, discontent, and a sense of disconnect from themselves and others. The metaphor of the yellow robe serves as a reminder of the qualities we must cultivate to live a fulfilling and meaningful life, one that brings peace to ourselves and to those around us. To truly embody the essence of the yellow robe, we must first recognize that worthiness is not derived from external validation or societal status. In contemporary society, worth is often measured by superficial metrics: wealth, career advancement, social media popularity, or physical appearance. However, this focus on external factors can lead to a cycle of dissatisfaction and insecurity. We might chase after these markers of success, only to find that they do not bring us the happiness we seek. True worthiness stems from our inner qualities, our character, our virtues, and our intentions. Embracing this shift from external validation to internal cultivation requires self-reflection and a commitment to personal growth. It starts with recognizing our inherent value as human beings, independent of our achievements or possessions. Each of us has the capacity for compassion, kindness, and wisdom. By nurturing these qualities within ourselves, we begin to shift our perspective and redefine what it means to be worthy. In today's culture, where instant gratification and comparison are rampant, the first step toward purging depravity is cultivating self-awareness. Mindfulness practices, such as meditation and reflective journaling, provide opportunities to pause and examine our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. By becoming more aware of our inner landscapes, we can identify patterns that no longer serve us. Are we harboring negative emotions like jealousy or resentment? Are we engaging in harmful self-talk that undermines our self-worth? These reflections allow us to take responsibility for our mental states, empowering us to choose healthier paths forward. Self-awareness also opens the door to understanding our motivations. When we are aware of our triggers, those situations that provoke negative emotions or reactions, we can better manage our responses. For instance, social media can be a source of comparison and discontent. By recognizing how scrolling through curated images affects our self-esteem, we can set boundaries that protect our mental health. We might choose to limit our time on these platforms or follow accounts that inspire positivity rather than provoke envy. In this way, we take charge of our mental well-being and reinforce our commitment to a virtuous life. Once we have begun to cultivate self-awareness, the next step is to actively purge our minds of negative tendencies. In a world filled with distractions and chaos, it can be easy to fall into patterns of greed, anger, and ignorance. The Buddhist teachings remind us that these qualities not only cloud our judgment but also lead to suffering, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. By recognizing the consequences of our thoughts and actions, we can begin to let go of those that do not align with our values. Practicing self-control is vital in this process. In a society that often encourages indulgence, whether it be in food, shopping, or entertainment, learning to exercise restraint can feel countercultural. However, self-control is not about repression, rather, it is about freedom. When we learn to manage our desires, we free ourselves from the cycle of craving and disappointment. This is particularly important in today's fast-paced world, where instant gratification can lead to long-term dissatisfaction. For example, consider the impact of mindful consumption. Rather than mindlessly reaching for the latest gadget or succumbing to impulse buys, we can cultivate a more intentional approach to our purchases. Before buying something new, we can ask ourselves, do I really need this? Will it bring lasting joy or fulfillment? This practice not only helps us develop self-control but also encourages us to appreciate what we already have. By focusing on gratitude and contentment, we become less susceptible to the lure of materialism, fostering a more peaceful and meaningful existence. Truthfulness, another cornerstone of the Buddha's teachings, is essential for cultivating genuine relationships and a sense of belonging in today's society. In an era where misinformation spreads rapidly and authenticity can be hard to find, committing to truthfulness is a powerful act of courage. It begins with honesty with ourselves, acknowledging our feelings, values, and truths without judgment. This authenticity is crucial for establishing meaningful connections with others. In our interactions, we must strive for open and honest communication. This means expressing our thoughts and feelings truthfully while remaining compassionate towards others. It also involves actively listening, creating a space where others feel safe to share their truths. When we embody truthfulness in our relationships, we foster trust and intimacy, laying the groundwork for deeper connections. Moreover, truthfulness extends beyond personal interactions. It is crucial in our professional lives as well. In workplaces characterized by competition and sometimes unethical practices, being honest and transparent can set us apart. It requires courage to speak up for what is right, to advocate for fairness, and to hold ourselves and others accountable. By embodying these principles, we not only enhance our integrity but also inspire others to do the same, contributing to a culture of honesty and mutual respect. As we work on purging depravity and cultivating virtues, we must also recognize the importance of community. In a world that can often feel isolating, finding a supportive community is essential for our well-being. Surrounding ourselves with like-minded individuals who share our values can help us stay accountable on our journey toward worthiness. Together, we can encourage one another to embody the qualities that lead to peace and fulfillment. Community can take many forms. It might be a group of friends who gather to share their experiences and support one another, a spiritual or religious community that provides guidance and inspiration, or even an online group focused on personal growth. Whatever the format, the key is to cultivate relationships that uplift and motivate us. In today's society, where challenges such as mental health issues, social inequality, and environmental crises loom large, our collective efforts can create meaningful change. By working together, we amplify our impact, drawing strength from one another and inspiring a ripple effect of positive action. Ultimately, becoming worthy of the robe is a lifelong journey that requires ongoing commitment and practice. It involves embracing the principles of self-awareness, self-control, and truthfulness while fostering supportive connections within our communities. As we cultivate these qualities, we not only enhance our own lives but also contribute to a more compassionate and harmonious world. In our pursuit of happiness and meaning, we must remember that it is not about perfection but progress. Each step we take toward purifying our minds and living virtuously is a step toward greater fulfillment. When we stumble, as we inevitably will, it is essential to approach ourselves with kindness and understanding. Growth is often nonlinear, and setbacks are opportunities for learning and reflection. By approaching our journey with patience and perseverance, we can transform our lives and the lives of those around us. The teachings of the Buddha serve as a guiding light, illuminating the path toward inner peace and authentic living. As we strive to embody these principles, we ultimately find that true worthiness is not a destination but a way of being, rooted in our commitment to live with integrity, compassion, and truth. In doing so, we don't just become worthy of the robe, we become beacons of hope and inspiration for others. Our lives become testaments to the power of virtue and truthfulness, reminding others of their capacity for change and growth. The impact of living in alignment with these teachings extends beyond ourselves. It ripples outward, influencing families, communities, and even the broader society. As we navigate the complexities of modern life, let us commit to this path. Let us embrace the challenge of becoming worthy of the robe, nurturing our inner qualities, and cultivating a life of meaning and joy. In this endeavor, we find not only personal fulfillment but also contribute to a world where compassion, integrity, and authenticity reign. Ultimately, we can create a life where happiness is not just a fleeting emotion but a lasting state of being, deeply rooted in our values and actions. By embodying the essence of the yellow robe, we can transform our lives and the lives of those around us, paving the way for a brighter, more compassionate future. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's reading and found it inspiring. We look forward to seeing you next time as we continue our journey through the teachings of the Buddha. Your presence means a lot to us, and we can't wait to share more wisdom with you. Until then, take care and stay mindful.